Hey, loves, welcome back to another great episode of Organic Podcast, also known as Organic Conversation and Organic Food for Thought. Today, our topic is drum roll. What is in our food? You got it. What's in our food, guys? What are we eating? What are we putting in our bodies? What are we putting in our children's bodies? What are we feeding our families and our friends and our loved ones, you know? It is a very controversial topic, and I myself have really become very interested in the topic within the past, 7 to 8 months, maybe a little bit longer. I am a newly found vegan. I've been on this vegan journey for about 6 or 7 months now. The whole way or the whole reason I became a vegan, or, the whole idea behind vegan, honestly, was no idea at all. I have several different health concerns. I was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. I was diagnosed with high blood pressure. I had a heart condition. And a lot of these things are hereditary and they run in my family. A lot of my family members have these issues. I've had family members that have passed from these issues. And so one day I was sitting at home and I was, taking my medication. That's going to be another podcast, guys. Put a pin in that. We're definitely going to talk about these prescription drugs and medications. But today we're talking about the food. So I was at home and I was taking my medication, and I was at one point taking about 12 different pills. I was taking medication for, high blood pressure, and for type 2 diabetes, and for my heart condition. And it honestly was about 12 pills a day. And I just started noticing that I was having some side effects. And you can only imagine taking so many different medications, you know, the side effects of those. And you guys see those commercials where it's like, you could take this medication and it's for you know, type 2 diabetes. And then all of a sudden you get this really fast disclaimer. And in that disclaimer, you can hear, can cause blindness or sudden heart attack or even death. But talk to your doctor and see if, you can get this type of medication. And I'm just like, oh my goodness, that's crazy. But because of the health issues that I had, I, took the medication. And because, we're all programmed and raised and born in a society to where, you go to a doctor, you listen to doctor's orders, you follow doctor's orders, and that's it. That's what you do. Um, but I just started noticing that I was having different side effects that I really wasn't I didn't like. I felt some kind of way. I felt fatigued. I got really bad heart palpitations. I had dizzy spells. I started seeing spots and dots and all kinds of things. I'm already a plus size woman. I started gaining even more weight. And, gaining more weight put more pressure on my joints. So it was just like, okay, kid, you have to figure something else out. You have to do something else. So that's when I started looking into, like, holistic healing and natural herbs and stuff. Also going to be another podcast, guys. So I'm gonna put a pin in that too. But I just started looking into different natural ways of healing things, because, you know, we were actually given every herb, every plant, everything we need is here on earth. But because, again, we're born into a society to where, it's medication and doctors and pharmaceuticals, we just follow that chain. So I started looking into other avenues that would be beneficial for me, and I started doing research. And I would tell everyone, do your research. Never just, start doing something. Just do your research, make sure it's for you, and all those great things. Um, So then I decided to do a fast, and I've done fast for a very long time, um, because of what my religion was, and which was Christianity, and I was in church the majority of my life, really. Off and on as a child, I would go with, friends and, and their parents. And then as I got older, um, I started going myself. And so, we did different fasting for, different times of the year. So I was very aware of fasting and all that. So I decided to do a cleanse. And in that cleanse, I said, you know what? I'm not going to eat any meat. And so I said, I'm gonna go 30 days without meat, right? So, the first week it was a little difficult because I loved chicken. I loved it. I mean, I can eat chicken with breakfast, lunch, dinner, snack. Chicken, 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 chicken me, please, right? I love chicken. And so I thought it was gonna be really hard to just give that up. So I said, you know what, I'm not going to do, chicken. I haven't had pork since I was about 15, 16 years old. I am proud to say I'm 37 now. I'll be 38 in August of 2020. And so, yeah, I haven't had pork in a very long time. So that wasn't a problem. And turkey, I really like turkey. So, um, I said, okay, you know what? I'm not going to eat meat for 30 days. And I went for 30 days. And like I said, the first week was a little difficult. I asked my boyfriend, I said, hey, join me on this because he had health issues as well. I was like, join me on this. Let's try this out. And he didn't start exactly when I started. He actually started about 2 or 3 weeks later. And by the time he was starting, I was almost at my 4 week mark of no meat. But not having meat in about 4 weeks, I felt, you know, more energy, a little lighter. I wasn't having, digestive issues or stomach problems. And, I just started noticing things that was different. I also started to keep a journal called my healing journal. And I would, write down daily different things that I noticed by not eating meat, or if I craved it or if I didn't crave it, things like that. And so, um, after 30 days, I just continued it. I continued going with the no meat. However, I did start eating seafood. So that's when I said, oh, you know what? I'm going to be a pescatarian. And I would eat seafood. The seafood that I would eat was, shrimp. I love shrimp. So shrimp and salmon. I love some shrimp and salmon. Honestly, that was like the only two pieces of seafood that I would eat. And so I did that for a while. And then I started doing more research, on food and what's put in our food and processed food. And then I started doing more research, and I found out that our seafood is not immune to being processed. It's not immune to them putting, different things in the seafood to, make it bigger or to make it brighter in color or to make it fresher, just as they do meat and other foods. And so once I learned that, I was like, dang, I can't eat seafood. So it's like I'm really, stuck to the bubble of fruit and vegetables. And so that's the whole, reason why I wanted to do this podcast today. So I just wanted to dive in a little bit more and talk about what's in our food. Upon my research and study, one of the sites that I used was the FDA.gov. Okay. So whatever I talk about during this podcast, you can definitely go to FDA.gov and you will definitely see everything that I'm speaking of. And I'll also list some other sites as well. All right. So the FDA allows secret, untested chemicals into our food, right? Now, this article states when you open a bag of chips or an energy drink for a quick snack, you assume it's safe to eat. I know I did. I mean, I'm thinking, listen, they're not going to just put any old thing on the shelf, right? Surely it's been vetted. That's what the Food and Drug Administration does, right? That's what I thought. So listen, unfortunately, the FDA, the agency legally responsible for ensuring the safety of our food supply, recently finalized a rule that allows manufacturers to decide for themselves in secret. You hear that, guys? In secret, which chemicals can be added to processed foods like chips, energy drinks, and breakfast cereal. Processed foods makes up 70% of the American diet. These are foods we eat and feed to our children on a regular basis. Earth Justice and several consumer health and food safety groups are challenging the newly finished rule in court. So guys, people are actually having to or companies are going to court in order to find out what foods are being, or what chemicals are being put into our foods. Like, you have to go to court to find that information out. That is beyond crazy to me. Okay? Most Americans would be shocked to learn that the FDA allows novel, even untested chemicals to enter the market with no independent safety review. But the practice is all too common, thanks to a loophole that has swallowed food safety laws whole. More than 50 years ago, Congress created an exemption from safety testing for food additives that were generally recognized as safe, or GRAS, which is GRAS. Okay? GRAS examples are, under the GRAS rules, GRAS, manufacturers don't have to inform the FDA of what these chemicals are, nor are they required to conduct rigorous independent safety reviews before putting them in our food. According to a study by the Pew Charitable Trust, almost all new chemicals added to food over the past decade were deemed by manufacturers to be GRAS, GRAS. Today, an estimated 3,000 chemicals that have never been sanctioned by the FDA appear in our food. Now, guys, this information I pulled off of a site. This was posted June 1st of 2017. So at June 1st, 2017, there were over 3,000 chemicals that have been sanctioned, by the FDA, appear in our food. So in 2017, it was over 3,000 untested chemicals put in our food secretly. We are now in 2020. Okay. So that's 3 years ago. Can you imagine what or how much more or how bigger that number is? 3,000 chemicals is huge, but it's 3 years later, guys. So just think about that. Think about it. It's definitely food for thought. Okay? All right. So listen. Chemicals in food can impact human health, from cancer and infertility to behavior disorders in kids. Kids these days, doctors are so quick to say they're somewhere on the spectrum and they have autism or ADHD and, all of these other things. It's because of these chemicals that they're putting in our foods. Back in my parents' days or their parents' days, you didn't hear about, kids being on the spectrum or, having ADHD and things like that. You just didn't hear about those things. But now those things are so freaking common to hear about. All right. So yet the food industry, using the GRAS loophole, is allowed to keep information out of the chemicals is allowed to keep information about the chemicals it employs under wraps. The FDA rules lets manufacturers decide for themselves in secret that a confidential chemical is safe based on unpublished studies by industries funded experts. Okay? Now, what that means, guys, is there's already a company, right, who is putting all these chemicals in our food, and they are being funded by industry experts, supposedly, right? But what it sounds like to me is there is a large money bank company out there who makes all this money off of contaminating our food and poisoning our food. And they are in this loophole and they get around every other stipulation that they need to get around. They probably pay a little penny or a hefty penny to continue to produce the food that they're producing and continue to make money, you know? So, how can a substance that is not generally known to the government or the public be generally recognized as anything, let alone safe? That's my question. I really want to know that. Okay. The secretive Grasses system makes it impossible for the FDA to carry out its core responsibility to the public to ensure our food is safe. That's the FDA's job, guys. Their job is to make sure our food is safe. And to be quite honest, they are failing horribly at that job. Okay. Now, we have a right to know what's in our food and a right to demand the agency in charge of food safety do its job. By caving to industry pressures with this illegal Grasses rule, the FDA is letting down consumers and compromising public health. Think about your favorite kind of chips. Do you like regular potato chips or Doritos? Maybe you are a Cheeto Puff or a Pringle kind of person. Now I want you to think about what might go into making those delicious snacks. Now, I'm now in the habit of looking at the ingredients. Okay. I used to be one of those people. I'm in the grocery store. I'm just grabbing. Oh, that look like it's going to taste good. Oh, that look like that's good. Oh, that smells good. I'm going to get that. I'm going to get that. And I'll see somebody in the aisle with their basket all in the middle of the aisle and they're reading the contents. And I'm like, if you're going to get it, just get it. You know, if you're not going to get it, put it back, move on. Like, people are trying to shop here, right? I was that person. I have been so humbled. I have been so humbled, guys, by this experience that it is funny to me now because I literally stand in aisles for minutes at a time looking at ingredients, and I'm not afraid to pull out my cell phone and Google a word that I don't know how to say or that I don't know how to pronounce or whatever, and I want to see what it is. Okay. Now, let me give you a few examples of some ingredients that chips contain. Chips contain things like acrylamide, that is a cancer-causing chemical. And I'm not sure if I'm saying it right, so I'm going to spell it for you guys just in case you want to look it up yourself. It's spelled ACRYLAMIDE. It is a cancer-causing chemical. You guys, a cancer-causing chemical. Cancer is out here taking people's loved ones in the blink of an eye. And yet we're consuming foods that's putting that killer in our bodies. Wow. Also, sodium bisulfate, which is used to clean toilet bowls. Turn those chips around, guys. Look at those Doritos. Look at those Cheetos. Look at those Pringles. Read the ingredients. Yes, they taste good. They smell good. But it's the same ingredient to clean a toilet bowl. The spelling is sodium, SODIUM, bisulfate, BISULFATE. Toilet bowl cleaner. As I mentioned earlier, the danger of seafood, they're putting things in our seafoods, and seafood as well. One of my favorite things was salmon, and salmon is raised on a unnatural diet of grains and then injected with harmful chemicals to make it look fresh. And oh my goodness, guys, I loved salmon, okay? Just like I love chicken. I love me some grilled salmon, some baked salmon. I even fried salmon. It was so good. So good. But I had to let it go. In August 2016, the FDA announced that they would not make any changes to one of their most controversial laws. This law states that the companies are not required to disclose any potential harmful ingredients added to their food. Rather, disclosure is a voluntary basis. Now, what food company or food manufacturer do you really know who's going to go out here and volunteer their ingredients when they know their ingredients are killing and harmful chemicals? And they know a lot of people won't take the time, because I was one of those people. I wouldn't take the time to read the ingredients. And I can only imagine there's a million more people out there that that were that are like the way that I was, not taking time to see what I'm putting in my body, not taking time to see what I'm putting on my table and what I'm feeding my kids and my family, my friends. One of the scariest things about the whole situation in the United States is one of the only countries that continues to allow these chemicals in our food. The United States. This great old company, this great old, well, it is actually kind of like a company if you really step back and look at everything that goes on here in the States, what's allowed in the States. It's a big old company. But yeah, so the United States is one of the only countries that continues to allow these chemicals to be put in our food. Um, Author Chris Carrington of Ready Nutrition put it best when he said this: "It amazes me that a government that considers itself able to police the world, who thinks they have the right to interfere in the lives of millions globally, cannot ensure that its own citizens are able to consume everyday foods in the sure knowledge that they are not being poisoned." He hit it. He hit it right. He hit what is it, the nail on the hammer or the hammer on the nail, whatever my parents used to say. It's just so true. It is so true. Now, according to naturalnews.com, in 1958, President Eisenhower signed the Food Additive Amendment. Okay, this law gave the FDA power to lump food ingredients under the approval term generally recognized as safe. Wow. Why does the FDA allow additives in our food that are banned in other countries? Why? Why? Have you ever sat back and thought about that? I mean, it, it's just unknown. So the first one of the first ones that has been banned in other countries that we still use here in the States is called azodarcarbonamide. That's spelled AZODICARBONAMIDE. Wow. Just the spelling looks scary, let alone trying to pronounce it. Now, that particular chemical, which is known to induce asthma, has been banned in Australia, the UK, and most other European countries. If you were to use it as a food ingredient in Singapore, you can face up to 15 years in prison and a $500,000 fine. According to the FDA, the drug is approved to be a bleaching agent in cereal flour and is permitted for direct addition to food for human consumption here in the lovely US of A. That's crazy. The drug is banned, okay, in Australia, the UK, and most European countries because it is it's a killer. It causes, it's known to induce asthma. To induce it. Oh my goodness. That is crazy. If you use it in any of those countries, you can be charged a $500,000 fine and face up to 15 years in prison. But if you want to use it, just come on over to the United States. Go ahead. Secretly add it. You can voluntarily tell us or not. It's on you. You don't have to let your consumers know what they're eating. But then you have to think about it. Maybe they feel like they are telling you guys, by putting the ingredients on the box. But again, there's that loophole to where they only have to put certain ingredients. They don't have to list them all. I tell you, every time I turn over a box and I read the ingredients, I'm just saddened. I'm saddened because I wish I knew this information a long time ago, and I feel like that I could have possibly prevented some of my own health issues, or helped family members. But knowledge is key and knowledge is power. And the one thing is, once you obtain it, you have it, and there's no taking it away from you. So guys, definitely get out there and research and study what we're putting on our tables and what we're feeding our family and friends. Okay. Listen, the second one that has been banned is called brominatide. Okay. Vegetable oil. And that's spelled BROMINATED. It's vegetable oil, which is banned in more than 100 countries because it has been linked to every form of thyroid disease, from cancer to immune disease known to man. Wow. Most bread products and fruit flavored drinks are made with these. The FDA puts a limit on this one, that a serving cannot exceed 15 parts per million. So the FDA knows yet again that this is another dangerous, killing drug. And they say it's okay, still give it to people. Just don't let it exceed 15 part per million. And you may think, oh, 15 part per million, that's, just like, a little 15% of a million. But it's bigger. It is huge. So you ask yourself, is it really just about money? Is it all about money for these companies? Is it all about making money and killing people in the process? Do they care? Honestly, I really don't know. I can't answer that question. I definitely going to have to do more research. This will not be the only podcast that I talk about, what's in our food. I'm also going to do another podcast with more, newer research that I've been working on. Also, I'm going to talk about vaccines and what's in vaccines. Put a pin in that though, because we're definitely going to come back to that on another podcast. So you ask yourself, what can you do? Me being a vegan now, one of the things that I do is I definitely try to buy locally. If there's any local farms or farmers markets in your areas, definitely try to buy that way. And really, I think the best thing to do is to grow your own food. You know, when you yourself grow your own food, you know what you're putting in your soil, what you're putting in your body, how you're growing your food, the environment, all of those things. And for some people, you just don't, maybe you don't have those resources yet, and or maybe you live in an apartment and you can't start your own garden. There are so many different awesome ways that you can grow your own food now. You can just grow little plants in your house, little herbs and things like little plants around your house. Pinterest is a really great site to learn how to build like a little small garden if you have like a little patio or a deck or something, and you can, build that and just put that out there and start small. Start with your cucumbers and your tomatoes and things like that, because not only do they poison our, the processed food, they're also poisoning our food. Just anything. They are injecting, fruits and vegetables with different things to make them fresh, or to make them bigger in size, or to keep them on the shelves longer. And it's sad, guys. It's sad, the world that we live in, but we we can make it better. We can take a stand, and we can do our research, and we can do things better. Buying organic food really is the best solution. I know organic food can be a little pricey, um, but you have to think about it. Do you want to spend the extra money on your organic food, or do you want to spend the extra money on your hospital bills? I'll prefer to stay out the hospitals and spend a little extra on my foods. Try shopping at places like Trader Joe's or Fresh Market, or like I said, if you have any farmers markets in your area, things like that. There are some smaller, more realistic steps that you can take. The first step is reading your labels. Listen, if you got to stop, and like I said, stop in the middle of the aisle, pull out that cell phone. We all have cell phones. It's like our twin now. Everyone has a smartphone, a cell phone, a tablet, something. Pull it out. Look up those ingredients, research those ingredients, see what's being put in your food. Just take that extra minute or two to do so. I'm telling you, it takes you a long way. All right. Take some small steps, like I said, read the labels, which can lead to bigger steps like going to farmers markets, or even eventually writing into your local government, or even boycotting companies that put chemicals into their food. If we can collectively come together as people, okay? Not as black people, not as white people, not as men, not as women, as people. Because that is our common denominator. We're people. We're human first, okay? We're human before we see any other label that have been put on us. So if we could come together as people and boycott companies that put chemicals into our food, we will see results. I promise you guys, we will see results. Okay. I know this may be a little bit off topic, but if you go back to, Rosa Parks, when, she didn't give up her seat, or when they did the bus boycott, and people weren't taking the bus anymore, you know, that hurt them. That hurt that industry, because at the end of the day, the people made the company. Without us, there would be no companies, because our money, it's what we're putting into the company. So if we start taking our money back from these big old industry companies, these big old supermarket chains and grocery store chains, and start putting them locally, we will see results. Okay? We will definitely see results. Now, consuming these chemicals is extremely hazardous to your health. All right? Research the facts on your own. You need to know what you are putting in your body. You need to know what you're putting in your family's bodies. You need to know what you're putting on your tables, what you're serving. I know for me, cooking, I love to cook. I love it. I'm actually working on a cookbook. Hopefully it'll be out by the end of the year. Put a pin in that as well, guys. We're definitely going to talk a little bit more about that on another podcast episode. But, sometimes cooking is therapeutic. It brings your family together. You get to sit around the table and talk about your day and all that good stuff. but put healthier foods on your table. Take away the chemicals, take away the additives, take away, the processed foods. Okay. I do want to talk a little bit about other chemicals. Other chemicals can be used to fight diseases in farm animals or crops. All right. So I'll get a little bit more into depth with that, but we're going to take a moment and pause for the cause. All right, guys, thanks so much for continuing to listen to the Organic Podcast. Where we left off, we were talking about the different chemicals that they use in our foods, all right? So the other chemicals that can be found are chemicals that they use to fight diseases in animals or crops, meaning they are, or they know for sure that certain animals that they are getting ready to slaughter has some type of disease, and they're trying to treat that disease instead of not harming or not killing that animal and sending it off to, be eaten in human consumption. They are instead trying to medicate that animal with different kinds of drugs and chemicals, and they still kill the animal. And with all of those chemicals and medicines and things that they've pumped into the animals and also into our crops, they go on and they sell them, and they put it out there for us to consume. All right, so just know they're still slaughtering and killing and producing and selling sickly animals, guys. Like, these animals are sick, dying, and they feel, well, the animal's going to die anyway. Why not make some money off the dying animal? And also on crops, you can have a bad batch of crops, and instead of tossing those out, they feel like they're tossing money away. They're going to spray chemicals and things like that into those crops and go ahead and sell them so that they can be put in your grocery stores. All right. Some of the common food additives and chemicals are harmful to children. So, biophenols such as BPA. Now, the word is spelled BISPHENOLS. They can act like the hormone estrogen and interfere with puberty and fertility. All right. They also add artificial food coloring, things like that. Now, what does the FDA allow? Now, you guys are really going to lose your mind when I tell you this. Maggots, red hair, mouse poop, and more. All right. Gross things the FDA allows in your food. Many eaters likely want to avoid insect parts, rodent feces, or fly eggs in their meals, but according to the Food and Drug Administration, that's just impossible. All right. You guys, many eaters likely want to avoid, as I said, those things. There is a defective level handbook. All right. The defective level handbook lays out the maximum level of allowable contaminants for over 100 food items, from allspice to wheat flour, before the item is considered contaminated and should not be consumed. All right. These little critters could be introduced to the food before, during, or after the food was harvested, or even during its process and packaging. For example, in whole ginger, the FDA allows up to 3 milligrams or more of a milligram extract per pound. That is mouse poop. Okay. And peanut butter, the agency allows an average of fewer than 30 insect fragments per 100 grams. All right. About a quarter of your average jar. Okay. A quarter of your average jar of peanut butter has about 30 insect fragments. That is disgusting. The handbook states that it would be economically impractical to grow, harvest, or process raw products that are totally free of non-horridized, natural, or occurring unavailable defects. That's what they state. All right. I definitely agree with that. I think if they take, more safety precautions and protective measures that they can, but I feel like they don't because they can cut cost when making our food or producing our food with adding these chemicals and stretching the food and enhancing the food. So therefore they do it. But you know, maggots or fly eggs are found in tomato juice. Insects crawling in or around Brussels sprouts. Spices. You have a lot of spices have been found with rodent hair. Mold can be almost anywhere. Um, you won't even believe that cigarette butts or sticks. Yes, the FDA does explicitly detail an allowable percentage of cigarette butts in food. Are you kidding me? Cigarette butts in food? Mouse poop is pretty common. The FDA uses a high scientific term, which is mammalian extracts, that's spelled MAMMALIAN extract, to describe any type of rodent fecal matter, whatever you call it, prevalent in modern food. Now, guys, like I said at the beginning of this podcast, I list and well, I also state where I've gotten my information from. I would definitely tell you to do your own research, check out the websites, read up on your own, read labels on your foods, do your homework, okay? Now, we did talk a little bit about what are some of the better ways to eat or you purchase your food. I talked about, growing your own food, buying organic, buying from, local markets like Trader Joe's or maybe even farmers markets and things like that. All right. So, going organic. Organic foods are usually good for the environment, but as I said before, they can be a little costly on your pockets. But you have to do the math and think, would I rather spend this money on healthier foods for me and my family, or will I rather spend this money on the back end of emergency visits or doctor's offices and hospitals and things like that? Now, what organic means? The term refers to the way a food is grown, handled, and processed. These practices are meant to protect the environment. The government has strict standards for its USDA organic seal produce must be grown without the use of most conventional pesticides, fertilizers that aren't naturally made, sewage sludge, radiation, and genetically modified organisms. Animals can't be given antibiotics or hormones. All right. So that's what it means to eat organic food, or that's what the word organic foods means. All right. You also want to understand your labels. The government oversees the use of these terms. 100% organic, all the ingredients are certified organic. Organic, at least 95% of the ingredients are certified organic. Or made with organic ingredients, meaning at least 70% of the ingredients are certified organic. I want to repeat that again, okay? Understanding labels. Labels that read 100% organic means all the ingredients are certified organic. Labels that read only organic, at least 95% of the ingredients are certified organic. And labels that read made with organic ingredients means at least 70% of the ingredients are certified organic. Other labels, such as all natural and farm raised, aren't regulated, so they don't mean much. Okay, so if you see that all natural or farm raised, it doesn't mean anything. They just threw that up there. Okay, um, let's see a little bit more that I wanted to dive into the truth about pesticides. Okay, so this may come as a surprise, but organic food isn't necessarily pesticide free. Organic farmers aren't allowed to use synthetic fertilizers or pesticides, but they can apply ones made from natural ingredients, which can still be dangerous for your health. All right, so you definitely, like I said, guys, do your research, read your labels. All right. Now, if your diet includes a variety of produce, you're likely to get a big dose of one single pesticide. So it really just depends, okay? Now, when it comes to buying organic, me personally, guys, and this is just my opinion. I'm sure everyone has their own opinions. I was always taught, you have to believe in something or you'll fall for anything. And the way that our government and systems and things are set up, I feel like they're still able to, print labels and throw them up on um on items. And honestly, the best way to make sure that you are eating um good food for yourself is to grow your own food. And I know that that's maybe hard or not convenient for some people, but trust me, it's not as hard as you believe. Like I said earlier, Pinterest has some great ideas for growing your own foods, in your home with different plants, different herbs, and just starting small. you know um there, of course, they say is organic beef and organic poultry and things like that. And it's just so easy for them to slap some labeling on it and say, hey, this is good for you, or whatnot. But to each his own. um, and then I wanted to talk a little bit more about seafood, okay? Because it's very controversial when it comes to seafood. Did you guys know that the USDA doesn't have standards for organic seafood? So the piece of fish labeled organic isn't guaranteed to be any safer for you, um, or the environment. They can still have contaminants. A better approach, if you're going to eat seafood, is shop for fish that's low in mercury, a metal that can harm your nervous system. Seafood that's smaller in size, such as shrimp, salmon, and anchovies, are good bets. Okay. Um, Again, guys, remember you can always go on. I got 99% of my information from the FDA.gov website. So you can always go up there and take a look around, and just, anything that I talk about during this podcast, you can definitely research and look at. All right. Now, I did want to also say companies are supposed to notify the FDA when they use chemicals they've deemed safe in food packaging. Keyword, companies are supposed to notify the FDA. Doesn't mean that they are doing that. However, they are supposed to. Um, but, some companies do and some companies don't. So, I did a little research on a couple of things. I just wanted to really look into some things. And I know we talked about earlier in the podcast, just different foods. But I know one of my favorite snacks and foods to eat was Cinnamon Toast Crunch, right? We all love Cinnamon Toast Crunch. Any kind of breakfast cereal. It was just really quick, fast, and easy. And so I wanted to look up the ingredients that were in that sweet, savory, crunchy cereal. So the ingredients for Cinnamon Toast Crunch cereal is whole grain, wheat, sugar, rice flour, canola oil, fructose, maltodextrin, spelled maltodextrin, dextrose, which is spelled dextrose, salt, cinnamon, triazidone furoate, which is spelled trisophosphate. That is two words. Soy laxin, caramel color, BHT, added to preserve freshness. So, the words that I didn't really know what they meant, I decided to look those up. So, the word maltodextrin, I looked up, okay? And so, I actually jotted it down here on one of my handy dandy notes. And now that I want to tell you guys what it was, I misplaced it. So, let's see here. Bear with me one moment, ladies and gents. All right. So, maltodextrin is a white powder made from corn, rice, potato starch, or wheat. Maltodextrins are closely related to corn syrup solids, with the one difference being their sugar content. However, after hydrolysis, corn syrup solids are at least 20% sugar, while maltodextrin is not. I wanted to find out what the dangers of maltodextrin is. The dangers are side effects may include allergic reaction, weight gain, gas, flatulence, and bloating. Maltodextrin may also cause a rash or skin irritation, asthma, cramping, or difficulty breathing. The primary source of maltodextrin will be corn, rice, and potato, but manufacturers may sometimes use wheat. So that is in your cereal. The cereal that we are feeding to our children, they can suffer from side effects such as allergic reaction, weight gain, gas, fluctuance and bloating, and it can also cause rash, skin irritation, asthma, cramping, or difficulty breathing. Here, honey, come on, let's eat a bowl of Cinnamon Toast Crunch. You may have difficulty eating, but it tastes good going down, right? All right, the other thing that it has is dextrose. Dextrose is the name of a simple sugar that is made from corn and is chemically identical to glucose or blood sugar. It is often used in baking products as sweeteners and can be commonly found in items such as processed food and corn syrup. Sounds safe, right? Could be. However, dextrose use can lead to dangerously high blood sugar or fluid buildup in the body, which may cause swelling and fluid in the lungs. People with the following conditions should avoid dextrose if you have high blood sugar, swelling in your arms, legs, or feet. The side effects of eating this is swelling, blood clots in a vein, abdominal rapid breathing, fever, severe dehydration, and diabetes, excessive fluid in the blood, inflammation of a vein, or diarrhea. Now, guys, doesn't it sound like these drug commercials we see on TV? And, if you want to get your life back, just take one of these good old heart pills and keep your heart pumping. But it could cause your heart to stop. You could lose your sight. You could lose an limb. You could fatally die. Is your life not worth more? Is your body not worth more? Let's do our research. Let's do our due diligence. Let's boycott these big old industry companies that are pumping these chemicals into our community, into our world. As I mentioned earlier, the U.S. is one of the only places that still allows these chemicals to be put into our foods. It's just crazy. It really is. It really is crazy. One of the other ingredients in Cinnamon Toast Crunch is the Trazodone, Trazodonium frocyte. Guys, don't kill me. Don't get on me. I know I'm saying a lot of these words wrong. That's why I'm spelling them as well. But that chemical is with the chemical formula. It's a granular or crystalline solid producing an alkaline solution cleaning agent. It's a builder, a lubricant. It can also be used as a stain remover and a degreaser. And it's in your Cinnamon Toast Crunch. In your Cinnamon Toast Crunch, there's a chemical that is used as a cleaning agent, a builder agent, a lubricant, or a stain remover, and a degreaser. It's also linked to kidney disease, intestinal inflammation. It decreases bone density. It has also, it can give you heart conditions and even premature death. But it's okay, guys. It's in Cinnamon Toast Crunch, so it must be healthy and it must be safe for us, right? Wrong. Absolutely wrong. And you guys, BHT, it stands for Bill Gated Butylated, I believe it's Butylated, Hydroxylene, which is Hydroxytoluen. It is a man made antioxidant that are added to foods containing oils in order to prevent those oils from oxidizing or going rancid quickly. That's what BHT is. And that is found in a lot of our foods and snacks and things that we give to our loved ones. So, guys, I hope that this podcast was informal to you all. I hope that you learned something. I hope that I was able to give you some type of knowledge, shed a little clarity on some situations that's currently going on right here in our front yard, at our doorsteps, and just motivate you to do better. I want to thank you guys also very much. Also, like I said, anything that I've mentioned, I have um, also said where I got it from, the website, the reference source. So please look it up, do your knowledge, get your knowledge. I'm sorry, and let's help each other. Let's bring each other together, and let's just do better as people. And again, remember, I have several social platforms that you can follow me on. On IG, you can follow me under Organic Podcast. Remember, that's ORGANIK, Organic with a K. Facebook is Organic Conversations. Twitter is Organic 778388148. YouTube, please go and subscribe and share the podcast under Organic Conversation. Gmail, organicconversation@gmail.com. And as I am continuing to work on my website and every other social platform that I'm working on, I will definitely get the information out there to you guys. Remember, if you know anyone who wants to be on the podcast, or if you have any topic suggestions, things like that, definitely slide into my DM or email me, and we can go ahead and link up and make that happen. Until the next time, guys, thanks you so much for tuning in to another great episode of Organic. And I look forward to many, 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 many more episodes with you all. All right. Lovelies, be blessed.